Welcome everyone to a new episode of Alex Exploring. I am Alex, and today we are here in Licking County visiting all of the Ohio historical markers. We are in Pataskala right now. We'll be going through Buckeye Lake, Newark, Hebron, Heath, Newark, Granville, and Johnstown and Homer today. So let's get started at today's first Ohio historical marker. Our first Ohio historical marker is number 2445, placed in 2008, titled Pataskala Elementary School. The first school in what is now Pataskala was a subscription school operated by Ameria Cubberley on the nearby banks of the South Fork of the Licking River in the 1820s. Subscription schools, which charged fees, were the forerunners for rural public schools in many parts of Ohio. By the 1830s, several one-room public schools served the children of the area, but in 1870, the civic-minded citizens of Pataskala provided a centralized building for grades 1 through 12 on Main Street, where the old town hall now stands. The school was moved to the new building on this site in 1908, when the Southwest Licking Local School District was established in 1953. Pataskala Elementary School continued in the building. Additions in 1968 and 2000 enhanced its educational capabilities. This 1908 Queen Anne architectural style building was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1983. So it's the same on both sides. We walk up here to the building itself. You can see that they have what it looked like in 1908 when it was dedicated, and then in 2000 when it was rededicated. So this old school still holds classes. These old doors are now just ornaments, but this brick schoolhouse, it's about 115 years old. So we're just starting here this morning. So let's get going to our next Ohio historical marker here in Licking County. All right, we are now in Buckeye Lake, Ohio, where we are at our next Ohio historical marker, number 1345, placed here in 2002, titled Buckeye Lake. After the summit level of the canal became inactive in the 1890s, the state developed Licking Summit Reservoir, now known as Buckeye Lake, for recreation. The lake has 3,800 acres of water, 35 miles of shoreline, and 20 islands. Millersport, Buckeye Lake Village, Thornport, Thornville, and Hebron all developed as a result of the lake and canal system. Buckeye Lake Park, a popular regional resort, operated until the mid-1960s. Today, the lake area has become the water recreation center of Central Ohio, providing boating, swimming, fishing, water skiing, golfing, picnicking, and ice sports. The lake extends into 3 counties, including Fairfield, Licking, and Perry County. So this sign is at the Greater Buckeye Lake Museum. It's currently not open, but we'll have to come back sometime and come visit. So let's head on to our next Ohio historical marker here in Buckeye Lake. This is Ohio Historical Marker number 1245, placed here in 2001, titled Buckeye Lake Park, the Playground of Ohio. Using a 4-mile-long dam, the state of Ohio impounded the Licking Summit Reservoir in the mid-1820s to supply water for the Ohio and Erie Canal. In 1894, the state remained at Buckeye Lake and developed it for recreational use. The Columbus Buckeye Lake Newark Traction Company developed an electric park here, bringing in excursionists on interurban cars between 1904 and 1929. And creating one of the region's most popular resorts. Hotels and summer cottages proliferated on leased ground 9 acres in size. The park featured daily free admission during the summer. Promoted as offering every amusement consistent with good morals and behavior, Buckeye Lake Park features the Dip roller coaster, a 100 by 200 foot swimming pool, a roller skating rink, and dozens of attractions. During the park's heyday in the 1940s, many big bands, including those of Guy Lombardo, Glenn Miller, and Tommy Dorsey, with his singer Frank Sinatra, played at the Crystal Ballroom and Lake Breeze Pier Ballroom. The park declined in the 1960s and was subsequently acquired by the state. The adjacent fountain is the last remaining feature of Buckeye Lake Park. So this is where you can pull up and put your boats in the water. Some people along the pier fishing. There's actually a fair amount of people out here fishing today. But yeah, this is where the a resort was here in Buckeye Lake. Now it's mostly just residentials and getaway homes. But this is one of the bigger lakes in the main area. Not in Lake Erie here in Ohio. So getting a beautiful view here on a Sunday morning. No, not a cloud in the sky. And there's the marina right here where you can park your boats. Let's head on to our next Ohio historical marker here in Licking County after we take a couple photos of the lake. All right, we are now at our next stop. This is in Hebron, Ohio. This is not sure which historical marker. I think this is the first historical marker placed here in Licking County, dating back to July 4th, 1960. This is all about Hebron. Located at the crossing of the Ohio and Erie Canal and the National Road, Hebron was a favorite commercial and agricultural center for Licking County in the 19th century. Only 4 miles of the city, Governor DeWitt Clinton of New York turned the first spadeful of dirt for the Ohio Erie Canal on July 4th, 1825. The canal was completed through Hebron in 1828. Nearby Buckeye Lake served as a reservoir and a feeder for the canal until 1894, when it was set aside for park purposes. The National Road was completed through Hebron in 1834. You can see here's a stone here, probably from the canal. And it's the same on both sides. So we're going to head on to our next stop here in Licking County, but this is Hebron, Ohio. All right, we're here at Flint Ridge State Park, where we're going to find our next historical marker. We're also going to get our Ohio passport signed. Let's take a look. This is historical marker number 1645, placed here in 2003, titled Flint Ridge. For more than 10,000 years, Flint Ridge was one of the most important flint quarries in eastern North America. The flint formed at the bottom of the shallow ocean 300 million years ago. The softer rocks surrounding the flint have washed away, leaving the hard flint exposed near the surface. Prehistoric people came here to quarry the flint, which they crafted into a variety of stone tools. Hundreds of quarry pits and workshops are scattered for miles along this ridge. The beautiful rainbow-colored flint was especially prized by the Hopewell culture that built the nearby Newark earthworks. Artifacts crafted from Flint Ridge flint may be found throughout eastern North America. In more recent times, local industries quarried the flint for use as grindstones. Well, let's get a picture of this sign, and we're going to head to the museum, which is along one of the paths here. So this is the page that we need to get stamped here at Flint Ridge Ancient Quarries and Nature Preserve. We're going to go down this path. It's going to take us to the museum. It's an absolutely gorgeous day to hit the trails here in Licking County. It's one of the many various parks here littered throughout the county. Couldn't think of a better day to come explore Licking County. So even though the sign out front said that it closes or opens at 10 a.m., it's 10:03, and nobody had opened up this museum, so we're going to have to come back to get our stamp. But we're going to head on to the next historical marker. We'll explore the park here at another time, but we'll be able to get another passport stamp here in Licking County in Newark. So let's head on to our next stop here in Licking County. All right, we are now in Heath, where we're going to find our next historical marker right here. So let's get over there and read what the sign is all about. All right, so this Ohio historical marker is number is number 245. It's placed here on July 4th, 1978, and it's all about the Ohio Canal groundbreaking. At this site on July 4th, 1825, that's nearly 200 years ago, Governor DeWitt Clinton of New York, a master mason, turned the first shovelful of earth for the Ohio Canal. The ceremony was attended by area citizens and master masons. In the early 1840s, James A. Garfield, who was to become the 20th president of the United States and a master mason, led tow horses on the canal. And then here's a marker that was placed here in 1925, marking the 100th anniversary of the groundbreaking of the Ohio Canal. So let's walk up the mound here. Here's the canal that the stones that they laid for the Ohio Erie Canal went south down the Chillicothe area through Groveport, Ohio, and Columbus area, through Lockbourne, all the way up to Lake Erie and Cleveland. Very cool. This is I have an affinity for the Ohio Erie Canal, so this was a bucket list marker here. Let's get some photos and then move on to our next here in Licking County. All right, we are at the Newark Earthworks, where we are going to get our Ohio historical markers stamped, and we're going to view some of these beautiful Native American mounds that have been left over the centuries, and give a little bit of information about it. All right, so here's a sign giving some information titled "Wow, Prehistoric." Wow, says Derek. This sign out front says this is a prehistoric mound. What does that mean? Does that mean it was built when the dinosaurs were here? No, silly, says Marcy. There's no humans back then. When do you think the Great Circle was built? Did you guess 400 AD? If so, you're right. That's a whole 17 centuries ago. So 1700 years ago, these earthworks were built. You can see trees coming out of it, but this is a huge site. Across the path here is a sign here about Potawatomi. So they have like a little story that goes along with it, but we're not in this so much for the story. Why was it built? Stick stuck to me. Look at this. This is from the Ohio Historical Society. So we are here on the outside of the octagon earthwork. The main axis of Newark's octagon earthworks marks the northernmost ring of the moon. The earthworks include additional alignments to all other key lunar rise and set points in a cycle that takes 18.6 years to complete. Yet, the octagon is not an astronomical observatory. Aligning their architecture with cosmic rhythms was one way in which the ancient Native American builders marked these places as sacred. So, give some backstory. The there, this is potentially a UNESCO um, heritage site. As you can see, those mounds there goes inside this circle. Not a whole lot here other than just open space. This, I'm guessing, is the visitor center. And it looks like it's only open from 10 to 4, Thursday through Saturday. But I want to take a quick peek at this. This is an Ohio Historical Society marker. It's placed here in 1972. It's a map of the earthworks, and you can see that we are here. It crosses the street, and or more or less the street goes through it, but you can see just how much this is pointed north here. It goes all the way up towards Newark, the actual city of it. It says the Newark earthworks is truly one of the most magnificent prehistoric Indian sites in the eastern United States. Covering an area 2 miles square, it once was the largest earthworks complex in Ohio. The main components of the site are the large circle, Mound Builders State Memorial, a square enclosure, Wright State Memorial, and the octagon, which with connected circle, the Octagon State Memorial. These features were originally connected by a series of earth walls. In addition, there were numerous burial mounds and smaller circular enclosures associated with the major earthworks. The circles may have been built over the sites of council houses where the Hopewell Indians who built the complex some 2,000 years ago participated in social and religious observances. This model is based on a map by Ephraim Squire and Edwin Davis, who surveyed the mounds in 1847. Since that time, many of the original earthworks have been destroyed. Those portions that are preserved are represented by the burnished sections of the model. So very cool. We'll have to come back out here whenever the visitor center is open to get our stamp. But from here, we're going to head towards Newark for our next Ohio historical marker. We have made it now to our next Ohio historical marker here on Church Street in Newark. This is Ohio historical marker number 1845, placed here in 2003, titled A.H. Heisey Glass. The A.H. Heisey and Company produce high quality hand wrought glass in Newark, Ohio, beginning in 1896. Glass originally produced by pressing was intended to simulate cut glass, making elegant glass affordable to more families. Heisey was an innovator in production methods. He introduced colors and different patterns of glass to meet the social habits of the era. Highly skilled craftsmen produced, cut, and etched glass in many styles. The plant closed in 1957 because of Heisey's refusal to produce an inferior machine-made product. The beauty and superior quality of this glass makes it a highly collectible item. The Heisey's Collectors of America, founded in 1971, opened the National Heisey Glass Museum in 1974. The museum stands as a historical reminder and an educational resource to the heritage of A.H. Heisey and Company. And this is the museum here. It's the same on both sides, so we're going to take a photo and then journey to our next Ohio historical marker here in Newark. All right, so we are now walking up to our next Ohio historical marker at this building, which is the Licking County Sheriff's and Residence and Jail. This is really nice historical area, parking. But this is the first side of the historical marker. Number 2845, placed here in 2014. July 8th, 1910 was a dark day in local history. Carl Etherton, a detective with the Anti-Saloon League of Ohio, had come to Newark to raid saloons and speakeasies for illegal alcohol. Etherington shot local saloon owner William Howard in self-defense and was taken to jail in retaliation for the agent's activities. A mob formed. The crowd stormed the north side of the door of the jail, forcibly removed Etherington, and hanged him from a telephone pole on the southeast corner of the courthouse square. Governor Judson Harmon intervened to restore order. 58 of the mob participants were indicted, 25 for first-degree murder, 10 for assault and battery, 21 for rioting, and 2 for perjury. Etherington's lynching received national attention because it stemmed from a local uprising against the temperance movement. Now this side is about the building itself. Designed by J.W. Yost, a renowned Ohio architect, the jail first opened for use in 1889. The Richardsonian Romanesque structure cost $120,000 to build. It was constructed of pink sandstone known as, quote, brownstone, which was quarried near Millersburg, Ohio. The front 3 levels were built to house the families of the sheriff and the jail matron. Sheriff Andrew Creeley was the first to occupy the sheriff's quarters when the jail opened. The rear portion of the building was used for incarceration of male and female prisoners on separate floors. The 32 cells, each a minimum of 8 foot by 8 foot in size, was an official total capacity of 68 prisoners. However, well over that number were housed here at the times. The jail building was last used for incarcerations in 1987. Here it is. We'll get a different angle from the other side of the street, but here's the Licking County Sheriff's Residence and Jail. Let's head to our next marker here in Newark. We are walking now to the next Ohio historical marker, but this is the Licking County Courthouse, built here in 1876. Sure, that's what we will be talking about here at the next Ohio historical marker, but just wanted to give you this first glimpse of the courthouse. It's a Licking County Courthouse. This is number 2945, placed here in 2014, the Licking County Courthouse. Licking County was established in 1808. Construction of the current Licking County Courthouse began in 1876. In 1879, a fire destroyed upper portions of this building, which were replaced in 1880. Architect Henry E. Meyer of Cleveland designed the building in the Second Empire style, which originated in France. The building contains significant works of art, including paintings, sculptures, and stained glass in the West Courtroom on the second floor. The statues over the original entrance to the courthouse represent the ideal of impartial justice. This building is the fourth courthouse of Licking County. Each courthouse was located on the public square. In the early 19th century, a whipping post from the punishment of criminals was also on the square. The first courthouse was a log building constructed around 1809. The second was built of brick around 1815. Another brick building with pillars replaced it in 1832, but was destroyed by fire in 1875. In addition to court activities, the courthouse was a meeting place for local organizations. The current building once housed all branches of county government. So that's the Licking County Courthouse. Let's walk to our next one, and then we'll walk back to our car. We're walking by the Works, which is the Ohio Center of History, Art, and Technology. Our next historical marker is going to be across the street from here. But we're going to have to come out and check this museum out at some point, do a whole video on it, because it's all about Ohio history and how tech played its part in it, including the interurban railway and the interstate highway system. There's a street fair going on here in Newark. Got some rides going on and whatnot. Beautiful Sunday for it. All right, here is marker number 2245, placed here in 2007, titled Early Transportation in Newark. During the 1830s, the Ohio and Erie Canal was built through Newark. The lockmaster's house was home to the lockmaster of Lock Number 9. In 1852, the first railroad locomotive steamed into Newark, signaling the beginning of the end for the canal. By 1871, the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad took over the lockmaster's house and the encompassing land and built the Little Red House on the corner. You can see there on the right side of the sign. It's right around the corner from the station master and telegraph operator. Passenger and freight stations, a freight yard, and roundhouse were constructed nearby and served as a B&O division point. In 1881, the Schiedler Machine Works built a factory to manufacture steam engines and sawmills. This building now houses the Works Museum. In 1890, an electric interurban railway line connected Newark's B&O station to the Toledo and Ohio Central station in Granville. By 1908, the old canal was filled in. Interurban service ended in 1929 when the city purchased buses. So if we walk over here, it's a little park, the Ohio and Erie Canal Park, where you will find parts of the Erie Canal, Ohio Erie Canal, as well as the first time that we've seen actual lock doors still here, at least in some form or fashion. You can see the canal bricks here, or the stones laid on each side. And then this mural, The Folly, making it look like the boat is coming straight for this lock here. Very cool transportation history of Ohio. So let's actually going to check out this map on the side of this building. It's going to give us a map of the Ohio Erie Canal and the region. So let's check it out. So here we have the plan profile. More or less is going to look like that, tilted, but they have a picture state in there. But you can see we have Chillicothe, Circleville, Lockbourne, Groveport, Canal Winchester, Lockville, Baltimore, Carroll, Millisport, and Newark. Very interesting. And above it, you can see. So the bottom line is the actual route. The line above it is actually the elevation. So you can see Buckeye Lake. There is that line that plateaus there. The Licking Summit goes from Millersport to Newark. It actually goes down a little bit to get to Newark, but it's one of the highest points up until you get to Cuyahoga County in the Akron area. But you can see from Chillicothe past it goes about 115 feet, and you can see all the locks written at Lockbourne. How many in the area of southeast Columbus there is, and even shows the Columbus Feeder Canal as well. Very interesting. Let's head on back to the car. We'll head to our next stop. All right. We are here in Newark again. This is our second day here exploring Newark and Licking County. So let's get started here on Wyoming Street, where we will find our first Ohio historical marker. All right. So this is right at the corner of Highway and Wyoming Street. This is all about the history of the Licking Memorial Hospital. This is number 645, placed in 1989. Newark's first hospital opened on this site in January 1898. In 1906, the building was moved to 22 Wyoming and attached to an existing structure, creating a 22-bed hospital. In December 1914, a new hospital opened at the corner of Everett and Buena Vista. Licking Memorial Hospital on West Main Street began operation on July 6, 1966. So right here by this old church too. But yeah, here we are, Licking Memorial Hospital history. Let's head on to our next stop. We are now on just off of the side of the road on Mount Vernon Road to Holler Cemetery here. Just handful of headstones. Where we're going to find our next Ohio historical marker here. This is number 1445, placed here in 2003. John Sparks, trailblazer and frontiersman, as a private in the infantry of the 1st United States Regiment. And during the years 1805 to 1807, John Sparks, who lived from 1758 to 1846, acted as a guide scout and hunter for the 2 expeditions of Zebulon Pike, which helped to open up largely unknown areas in the headwaters of the Mississippi River and also the far southwest to the increasing westward expansion of the United States. Sparks spent his later years living on the north banks of the Licking River and was often seen walking barefoot around Newark. He died on February 28th, 1846, and was buried in this cemetery. So we'll just go in here. There is a total of 4 headstones in this cemetery, one being John Sparks. So this is a really cool spot here, right at Mount Vernon and Gregory. Let's take a photo, and we'll make our way to our next stop here in Licking County. Our next Ohio historical marker is right here at the Licking County Health Department building. Right there. And this is Ohio historical marker 3045, placed here in 2019, titled Licking County TB Sanatorium. Tuberculosis, or TB, is a contagious disease that was responsible for the deaths of 1 out of every 7 people in the United States in the early 20th century. The Licking County Tuberculosis Sanatorium, known as the TB San, was constructed in 1931 to 1932 at a cost of $250,000. The facility kept TB patients separate from the general population, controlling the spread of the disease. The location provided patients with rest, fresh air, food, and exercise. The main treatments for TB in the 19th through mid-20th century. The TB San served Licking County residents from September 1932 until March 1967, 35 years. But by the end of the 1960s, TB was no longer a prevalent health concern. In 1966, the Licking County Health Department occupied the building. After the close of the TB San in 1967, the facility also held an outpatient tuberculosis clinic, the county home, and other county government offices. In 2015, the health department became the building's owner. Since opening in 1932, the facility has served the public health needs of Licking County. So there it is, Licking County Health Department. Let's head on over to our next Ohio historical marker. We're going to be headed towards the direction of Granville. So let's get going. All right, next up, this is Ohio historical marker number 2745, placed here in 2013, titled Welsh Hills Cemetery. Welsh Hills Cemetery was once part of the United States military tract given to veterans of the Revolutionary War. The land was owned by a Philadelphia Welshman named Samson Davis. On September 4th, 1801, a portion of his land was purchased by the co-founders of the Welsh Hills community, Theophilus Rees and Thomas Phillips, who came from Carmarthenshire, Wales. On February 6, 1808, Theophilus Rees donated a portion of his land for the establishment of a cemetery. On that same day, Rees Thomas, the 8-year-old grandson of Theophilus Rees, became the first person interred. Wow, this backside definitely needs a cleaning. Located on this site was the first Welsh Hills Baptist Church, housed in a cabin owned by Big David Thomas, the son-in-law of Theophilus Rees. A stone marker denotes the location of the church and lists original members. Theophilus and his wife, Elizabeth, are buried in the cemetery with their descendants and those of Thomas Phillips and other Welsh settler families. One of the most noteworthy Welshmen buried here is Thomas David Jones, sculptor known for his stone bust of Abraham Lincoln and Vicksburg Memorial located in the Ohio State House. His grave is marked by a simple boulder that he engraved. We're not going to stop here because we have a fair amount of historical markers in Granville proper that we need to hit up. So let's take a couple photos of this sign so then we can head on to our next Ohio historical marker here in Licking County. We made it to the top of this hill here where we're going to find our next Ohio historical marker titled the Alligator Mound. Placed here in 1998. This is number 845. On this bluff lies one of two great animal effigy mounds built by Ohio's prehistoric people. Shown here, Alligator Mound is a giant earthen sculpture of some 4-footed animal with a long curving tail. Archaeologists believe the animal is perhaps an opossum or a panther, but not an alligator. The earthwork is approximately 250 feet long, 76 feet wide, and 4 feet high. Like the Great Serpent Mound in Adams County, Ohio, Alligator Mound is not a burial mound. The Newark earthworks built by the Hopewell people between 100 BC and AD 400 are 3 miles to the east. Scholars do not know who built Alligator Mound, but it may be the work of the Hopewell. It's interesting, just right in this very affluent neighborhood. See some very large homes around here. We have this effigy mound titled Alligator Mound, but they don't think it's an alligator. Interesting stuff here. So let's head down the mountain into Granville, where we're going to find our next Ohio historical markers scattered throughout Granville. Walking in, you can see a couple nice large churches here. Into this little parkish area next to this church, we're going to find historical marker number 2345, placed here in 2008. This is titled Founding of Granville, the Licking Company. In 1804, a group of neighbors in Granville, Massachusetts and Granby, Connecticut formed the Licking Company for the purpose of moving to new lands in Ohio. Inspired and informed by the settlement of Worthington in 1803, the company purchased 29,040 acres in the U.S. military district. Advanced parties surveyed and mapped a site, established a mill, and planted grain. The company planned a public square, a school, library, quarry, burying ground, and property for the support of churches. In November and December 1805, some 150 immigrants in ox-drawn wagons arrived in their new home and built temporary shelters on the designated public square. On December 9th through 12th, 1805, company members selected their Granville lots in an auction that was described as peaceable and honest. So this is here right next to this giant bell. We'll get some information on that bell. But we have a second side to this one. The Granville site, the most eligible part. The partition deed of the Licking Company reads, there shall be laid out a town plat in the most eligible part of said tract of land. The town site chosen was sheltered by the hills with copious springs, but open to the south on the second terrace above a branch of the Licking River. Today's village streets reflect the original plan with its broad way and connecting roads to Lancaster, Owl Creek, now known as Mount Vernon, and Worthington. Let's check out this bell here. So the Granville Opera House stood on this site for 100 years, built as a Baptist church in 1849. The building was moved here in 1882. On April 7, 1982, it was destroyed by a fire. This bell from the church tower was first rung on Sunday, June 29, 1872, to announce the death of the Reverend Samson Talbot, 5th president of Denison University. It also rang out the hours and sounded the fire alarm. So, huge bell here. It's been here for 150 years now. Let's get a couple photos of the sign, and we'll head to our next stop. All right, this is our next stop. The Old Colony Burying Ground, 1805. Granville, Ohio was settled in 1805 by the Licking Company, a group formed in Granville, Massachusetts and Granby, Connecticut for the purpose of emigrating west. The Old Colony Burying Ground was defined on the first town plot of Granville in 1805. Many of Granville's pioneers are interred within this ground, and the cemetery retains its original form and most of its westward facing rows of sandstone and marble gravestones. The early settlers buried here helped to lay out this town and determine the appearance and development of the village as it is today. The first burial, the infant son of Ethan Bancroft, was in April 1806. The oldest extant gravestone is dated 1808. 18 veterans of the Revolutionary War, 39 from the War of 1812, 16 Civil War veterans rest here, along with ministers, farmers, industrialists, physicians, young mothers, children, and other citizens of Granville. So this was number 2145, placed here in 2006. Let's look at the back side's the same. So let's go take some photos in the graveyard, and then we'll head on to our next stop. So they have walking tours sheets. There are two settlers. One's the yellow tour, one's the blue tour here. Mid-19th century Granville residents on the blue, and the old settlers is the yellow. let's take a couple of these and we'll see what they have to say. There's also this book here where you can look at all the headstone information, but just take a quick walk through here. This large one here is the first on this tour of 16 headstones. We'll just check this one out so you can come back and view all these immaculate gravestones. But this tall broken column is the monument of Colonel Lucius D. Mower, Granville's most prominent businessman in the 1930s, and his wife Lucy Munson Mower. Column was made to look broken off as a symbol of an unfulfilled life. He died at the age of 41 in 1834. The liquidation of his estate caused a great strain on the local economy. Here's number 2, a walk a few feet south to the next grave. This is the stone of Lily Jones, who was a member of the first white family who lived in Granville Township before the village was settled in 1805. She died on October 22nd, 1802 at the age of 28, leaving 4 children, and this is a replica stone. So that's going to give you kind of an idea of the various tombs and whatnot. We'll have to come back here because there's, 2 tours here, on paper, so you can go through this entire cemetery. It's rather large, so this is definitely going to be a place I'm going to take my wife. We'll be able to explore, 3 and 4 just right over here. There's a sign here about the cemetery. Here's what cleanups were taking place, all the way back to the 18th century. So this is a very old cemetery and one that's full of stories that we're going to have to come back and explore, because this is you don't get too many cemeteries with literally laid out tours of famous people that have been in this cemetery for centuries. So let's walk on back up north to our next stop here in Granville. Our next stop is going to be right here at the corner of South Main and West Elm Street. Here in Granville. Crossing the street, where we're going to find the Ohio Academy building, built in 1833. This is what this historical marker is all about, the Granville Academy. This is number 945, placed here in 1999. The Granville Congregational Church erected this building in 1833 for its female academy and a church meeting room. The school prospered and, in 1837, moved to make way for the Granville Male Academy. The Welsh Congregational Church purchased the structure in 1863 and converted it 2 stories into a single room with full-height windows. Welsh language services were held here for 60 years. Granville Grange number 2230 met in the building from 1923 to 1973. It then became Granville Historical Society's property and in 1981 was listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Very awesome. So we have 2 more stops here in Granville. We're going to head on down Elm Street, walk to our next down the road a bit. So let's go get those historical markers checked off our list. We're back to Broadway here, the Fine Arts Quad. We're about to cross over to Denison's campus. There's no crossing markers here, so we're just gonna go, right? That's our mantra, just go. But that couple's walking there is our next historical marker. Right here by the Michael D. Eisner Center. It's the quad for fine arts here at Denison. That is Walt Disney Company's former CEO. So let's walk up to that marker. So that older couple was looking at the sign, so I gave them their space. But just a very peaceful day here in Granville. Again, perfect weather to explore Ohio historical markers. So we made it. This is number 2545, placed here in 2009, titled an early center of education. Just 3 weeks after reaching Granville, Pioneer Villages decided on December 9th, 1805, to build a log cabin where 80 children would attend school. By 1820, public school classes were being held in a 3-story brick building. When rail lines and the National Road bypassed the village, dreams of becoming an industrial and commercial center were dashed. Educational institutions, however, thrived, and by the Civil War, Granville's citizens had organized the following: the Granville Literary and Theological Institution, later called Granville College, and then renamed Denison University; the Granville Female Seminary, the Granville Episcopal Female Seminary, the Young Ladies Institute, the Granville Female Academy, and the Granville Male Academy. As Granville enters its 3rd century, educational excellence continues to attract students to the community schools. And on the back here, titled Educating Young Women, Granville's citizens were early advocates of advanced education for women. By 1827, 30 young ladies attended a, quote, select school. The Granville Congregational Church, today's Presbyterian Church, formalized these classes and established the Granville Female Academy in 1833, first in the old Academy building and in 1837 on East Broadway. On this site, in 1832, Charles Sawyer founded the Granville Female Seminary, a Baptist institution. The Episcopal Female Seminary purchased and used the buildings for its school from 1838 to 1861. Marcena Stone then purchased this site in 1861 for the Young Ladies Institute, which had begun in 1859 in the Baptist Church. Stone's successor was Daniel Shepherdson, and when he retired in 1888, the institution was renamed Shepherdson College. In 1900, Shepherdson College consolidated with Denison University. So there's some education history. Look at that building right there. It's absolutely gorgeous. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next stop after some photos. And that will be our last stop here in Granville. We'll have a few more outside of Granville and Licking County here to finish up our journey. So let's get going. So just by my knowledge, universities here in Ohio are great places to come and scope out historical markers and other historical things. So come out and enjoy Ohio's public and private universities. For more really cool history stuff here in Ohio. Here we are at the Elias Gilman House. This is number 2645, placed here in 2014. It's this Greek house here. The original structure, the central portion of the current house, is the oldest frame building in the village. It was built in 1808 by Elias Gilman, a prominent figure from Granville, Massachusetts, who led the first family party to Ohio to establish a new settlement. In the home's early years, it served as a post office, library, retail store, and select school. The initial meeting of the Freemasons of Granville was held in the home in 1811, and the local Women's Christian Temperance Union organized here in the 1880s. A large spring to the west of the house supplied the village with water throughout the 19th century. The house has been an integral part of the community life for over 200 years. So now it's home to the Kappa Alpha Omega fraternity, or at least it does on the side, but you can see there's multiple historical homes here in this cul-de-sac, highlighted by the Elias Gilman House. And there is a backside of this, the Wee White House. Chi Psi Delta, a local sorority, purchased the home in 1904, making it the first sorority house at Denison University. The group would eventually become part of the national Greek organization Kappa Alpha Theta. The Wee White House, as it became known, has been a home to the Beta Tau chapter of Kappa Alpha Omega since 1929. The house has endured several changes throughout the years, including the 1830s edition of the classical revival style porch with Doric columns of solid walnut and the construction of the north living room in 1863. The west wing was added in 1958. In spite of numerous alterations, this beloved home is now owned by Denison University and retains its historic charm. All right, so let's head on to our final few stops here in Licking County on this journey through history through the Ohio Historical Marker Program. We're at our next Ohio historical marker now, number 1045, right by Raccoon International Golf Club. This place here in 1999, titled Major General Charles Griffin. Located 100 yards southeast of this marker is the boyhood home of Major General Charles Griffin. Born in 1825, he graduated from West Point in 1847 and rose to prominence during the Civil War. Griffin fought in most of the major engagements of the war's Eastern Theater, including the First Battle of Bull Run, the 7 Days Battles, and the Wilderness Campaign. While under his command, units from the 5th Corps of the Army of the Potomac blocked the Confederate retreat at Appomattox, compelling surrender. In recognition of Griffin's service, General U.S. Grant designated him a surrender commissioner in charge of the capitulation of the rebel army. During Reconstruction, Griffin became the military governor of Texas and Louisiana and was a vigorous advocate for the civil rights of newly freed slaves. He died during a yellow fever epidemic in Galveston, Texas in 1867. All right, just a couple more left here in Licking County. Let's head to our next. All right, we're just west of Granville now at Alexandria Public Library here in Alexandria, Ohio, where we're going to find our next Ohio historical marker, which is one of the shortest historical markers we've visited. This one is number 1945, placed in 2006, titled Willoughby Dayton Miller, who lived from 1853 to 1907. Born in Alexandria in 1853, Willoughby Dayton Miller received his primary education in a nearby one-room schoolhouse. He graduated from the University of Michigan in 1875 and then studied in Edinburgh, Scotland. Later, he traveled to Berlin, Germany, where he met an expatriative expatri- ex, expatriate expatriate American dentist, Dr. Frank Abbott, who encouraged him to study dentistry. Graduating from the University of Pennsylvania School of Dental Medicine in 1879, Miller returned to Berlin and joined Abbott's practice. 2 years later, he gained a research appointment at the University of Berlin, where he embarked on a career that brought the science of bacteriology into dentistry. In 1889, he published his research findings on the study of oral bacteria in the process of dental caries, tooth decay, entitled The Microorganisms of the Human Mouth. For his work, Miller is credited as the first to accurately describe the process of tooth decay. Willoughby Dayton Miller never forgot his Ohio roots. He visited his homestead often and in 1892 purchased the family farm in Alexandria, entrusting it to his nephew O.A. Brooks. Recognized throughout the world for his research, he was offered and accepted the deanship of the University of Michigan College of Dentistry in 1907. His family moved from Berlin to the United States, and Miller spent the summer in Alexandria preparing for his deanship and playing golf on his farm. In late July, he suffered a fatal appendicitis. His death was a shock to the dental profession. He is buried in Alexandria at the Maple Grove Cemetery. In 1915, a memorial statue was placed at The Ohio State University, located today in the courtyard of the College of Dentistry. A second memorial was erected at the University of Michigan in 1940. So there you have it. We have two more left here in Licking County. Let's get headed to Johnstown. We have made it to our final stop here in Licking County for the Bigelow Cemetery War Veterans. This is number 1745, placed here in 2013. We're going to learn about the Bigelow Cemetery. In 1810, Dr. Oliver Bigelow from Lansing, New York, purchased a 4,000-acre tract of land in Monroe Township for $10,000. Dr. Bigelow planned to build a town. After mapping out streets, the town square, and a cemetery, he named the village Johnstown. Dr. Bigelow was the town's first medical doctor and the first mayor. He died on November 5th, 1817, and was buried in Bigelow Cemetery, located in the southwest corner of the village. The cemetery became the resting place for more than 275 early residents, as well as veterans of 3 wars. Their grave markers, though weathered by the seasons, serve as a reminder of the great contributions to their community and nation. And here are the war veterans here from Revolutionary War, War of 1812, and the Civil War. All right, I hope you enjoyed today's adventure, spanning over 2 days for me, but just a few moments of your time here today. So make sure you like, subscribe, follow, and share. Hit that notification bell so you can get notifications on my next video. That being said, thanks for joining us on this journey through Licking County, Ohio. We'll see you on our next adventure.